Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we have a video from Gameranx that is 5 years old. It's 20 overhyped games that flopped. Unfortunately, because this is 5 whole years ago, Cyberpunk is on there. And some recent failures, like all of the Call of Duties that have come out since, aren't on this list. But let's get into this video. Make sure you like this video and make sure you're subscribed to stay tuned for all these new videos that I upload. Thank you. Let's get to the video. I'm interested to see how many games are actually on here. I mean, there's 20 games. I'm interested to see what games are actually on here. Duke Nukem Forever is a flop. Never played it. We'll see. This one is a flop. This one flopped so hard when it came out. It was absolutely terrible to play. This is coming. Is it? No, it's coming off a Black Flag, which was a great game. And then this one gets released. Oh,
had a lot of potential. It took place during the French
terrible.
Revolution. It was marketed
should have been a
to
great game.
Parody, pretty much. Where at Comic-Con they had a big parkour display set up with Assassin's Creed Unity logos all over it. Oh, the assassins! Look at them go! It was high level.
Oh, they're so
2014 marketing. And wow, the game was broken. It was just flat out broken. At launch, it had so many game-breaking bugs. It was hilarious. The game did sell well, but
oh my gosh,
such a bad
that is hideous.
That they A, had to give away their first DLC for free. B, gave a free download of Black Flag, The Crew, Far Cry 4, Just Dance, Rayman Legends, or Watch Dogs.
Oh my gosh.
To everybody who bought season passes, and still nobody was happy.
That is terrible.
Moving on to number 19, Duke Nukem Forever is a game that was in development
Never played it.
Forever. It began development in 1997.
I don't think I've ever played a Duke Nukem game.
In 2011. It basically had to be pried out of the cold dead hands of 3D Realms, the developers of the original Duke Nukem 3D, and essentially a brand of the company that made all of the original Duke Nukem games, with Gearbox actually sort of doing a hostile takeover of it, which was partially facilitated by 2K Games. Now, I don't want to endorse anything that happened during the course of that, because some of it sounds pretty not great to me. But Gearbox made a really bad game. To be completely fair, it was basically finishing a game that had been in development.
What has Gearbox actually made other than Borderlands?
Developer had gradually imploded over
Let's
the
be
course
honest.
of about a decade. But wow, it is not good. And if you remember all of the turmoil surrounding this game, there was always sort of an air of mystique. However, it is just absolutely dashed when you play the game. It sold itself as a big blockbuster dumb shooter, basically, and wasn't even that. It was just like a hodgepodge of nonsense that didn't look very good. Number 8.
So it's time to be Doom.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
Sonic the Hedgehog? What?
Came out, Sega decided they were going to go into this mode where we're going to do something different. And, well, they
didn't work.
Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
Sonic Heroes
obviously.
was generally well received. I personally didn't love it, but compared to what they did with this game, it was Mozart. Sonic 2006 decided to be a serious version of Sonic Adventure, and it was the wrong target to aim for, and they didn't know what they were doing. Also, they split the dev team about halfway through to work on another game, which was also bad, Sonic and the Secret Rings, and ended up rushing the last half of the development with a smaller team. Also, hey, if you ever wanted to see Sonic the Hedgehog fall in love with a human, this is the place to go for that.
Awesome. That is everything I've wanted from my Sonic game.
Because no one liked it. Why did no one like it? Because it was super weird. And to be truthful, if that was the worst thing about the game, I think people would have been fine, but everything about the game is bad. The camera, the controls, the graphics, the levels, everything. It's so bad. Moving on to number 17, 007 Legends is a game that probably didn't need to exist. However, it formed a nice
I've only
big
played one
hype train
007
off of
game.
being a commemorative title of the 50 years of the Bond franchise. What that meant is they decided that they would show off a bunch
play
of
Far
different
Cry.
areas from different eras
Don't play
in different movies with different actors, and altogether the thing just never comes together, and I wonder why. I can't just figure out why it never feels like one thing. Oh, maybe it's the concept of the game. It was built on Eurocom's attempt to remake GoldenEye 007, which was generally regarded as a good job.
I think that's
but
the one I
project
played.
itself was just too big in scale and just never felt like a full thing. This is a game that did basically nothing to keep you interested over the course of an extended play. At number 16, SimCity was being billed as a brand new reboot of the series.
I remember
that would
SimCity coming out.
Social elements and make it into an overall big, cool experience that Maxis developers actually at one point called like an MMO. Instead, it was basically a game that could mostly be played in single player and didn't need to be always online, but was always online.
It was always
and the
online.
Servers were down for like a week, and you couldn't even play the game for the first few days it was out. As in, couldn't play it at all. SimCity was such an unmitigated disaster, it's hard to describe it in
I think we used SimCity in school a little bit too.
There hasn't been a game in that franchise since. And no, I don't count SimCity Build It.
Maybe it was SimCity Builder.
It's pared down and bad. Although Maxis is technically still a studio, they've been dead for a long time. Moving on to number 15.
Number
hey,
15?
Do you remember when Evolve
oh my gosh, Evolve. Holy cow. This is probably one of my favorite games of all time. It is so upsetting that this game is no longer available to play legitimately. You can still play it here and there, but man, Evolve, when the original Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out, was so much fun to play. Gosh, I wish I could go back and play those games. Sitting down in the basement in our couch and just playing this was so much fun. Gosh. And then the DLC happened, and
multiplayer.
It divided the community.
Really cool. I remember how big it was going to be. I personally really remember how many times we were told it was going to be super fun and super innovative.
It was, though.
That didn't happen. In reality, it was kind of clunky and bad. Asymmetrical wasn't really a good thing if used to describe that game. And other games have done it way better. And it showed that this was not something people would pay for. It moved over to a free-to-play model and failed as that too. Because the things that you plan on making money doing, you just give away. Because, I don't know, let's just go ahead and say, like, the business model behind this game was bad, and the game wasn't good.
If this game came out now, it would probably do well. Because of all the battle passes that we have now in gaming. It would probably do well. But for the time, no.
To 14, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly was another Spyro game.
I don't think I've ever played a Spyro game either.
It wasn't developed by the original developers, and it was hyped to be the next Spyro game, and at that point, people really liked Spyro games. If you've played the Reignited trilogy, it's, I mean, a great game franchise, and probably the peak of the collectathon games. This basically billed itself as the next thing, but it wasn't developed by Insomniac, or by people who seemed to really care about anything that people liked about Spyro, just that people liked Spyro, because it was basically just this horrifically uninspired game that didn't try anything new and coasted. It did bad.
Wow.
Number 13 is Aliens Colonial Marines.
Is this the game I'm thinking of?
Sega
I don't think it is.
Game. We thought this was going to be at least interesting, and it wasn't.
I don't think this is the one where you play as an alien. No, I think this is only you play as a Marine.
I mean, it was an Aliens first-person shooter. It had single-handedly inspired most of the tropes we see in sci-fi shooters today, and it didn't even kind of live up to any of the games that had used some of its well-worn paths. Everything is mindless. Everything is just there.
I want to get to the end before I talk about the game I'm thinking of.
Artificial intelligence would be a
yeah. So there was a game, maybe something else, Aliens versus Predators probably, where you could play as the aliens, play as the Marines, play as the Predator. That game was so much fun. I used to watch my dad play that game all the time, and I loved it.
Massive exaggeration, and in most ways, you could just regard it as a failure. That's
probably the one I'm thinking of.
The War Z. Oh, the War Z. What is basically
I don't think I've ever heard of this one.
Of the DayZ Arma mod. If you're familiar with DayZ or any of that kind of game, the War Z was just biting on that. It had money behind it, a nice big investment, and it managed to garner a bunch of hype, but it offered nothing new and nothing special, and it just basically banked on DayZ, acting like since people knew what it was, they definitely needed something that wasn't a mod and was a full game. Nobody needed it.
No.
Number 11 is Dino Crisis.
I know.
3, not 1, not 2, 3. Because hey,
the original
how
Xbox.
The first 2 were actually good despite being very different games. Yeah, let's make a third one, set it way into the future on a spaceship, and have it make no sense at all. On top of that, you should have the worst camera system imaginable. How many games of this era were just ruined by the camera system being horrific? It's not a small number, but this game really took the cake. Dino Crisis was a series that has fans, like, to this day.
Camera looks interesting, but
I liked the original quite a bit.
Why not just give it a third-person view?
Development from Resident Evil. And
this is the original Xbox, though. So.
I still don't know. Coming in at number 10 is APB. I don't know if you remember when they originally announced
yes,
this, but plans for the game
GTA.
go back to even 2005. David Jones, the creator of
I remember seeing this so much and never seeing gameplay on YouTube on this game.
That combined everything from all of the games that he had made over the years and hyped it as the culmination of all of his experience. They spent over $100 million making this game, and it basically hollowed the company out. The game being a multiplayer, third-person open-world game without servers.
I think this is the first time I've seen gameplay of this, and it just looks bleh. What? When did this come out? Like,
it was acquired and rebranded
terrible.
as APB, reloaded as it was relaunched, and it's still going today, but it's pretty crap. Moving on to number 9,
doesn't look good.
Lair, a game that I barely remember, but can kind of vaguely remember, was this game that was marketed heavily on its very beautiful graphics, and to be frank, for the time, it actually did have
doesn't look
graphics,
bad.
But that's about it. It had probably
like
some
Dark
of the
Souls,
I can
the original Dark
for a
Souls
game that
level.
Uses 6-axis to do air
maybe even
battles,
Demon Slayer graphics.
That's not what you want to hear. In fact, you really just don't want to hear a game uses the 6-axis to do air battles. Yeah, dragon games are really cool, but almost none of them have really worked out. And even the best ones, the original Panzer Dragoon games, are like cult success at best. It's a shame because, I mean, they're awesome. But it's this kind of game that I think is probably
dragons are cool, but they hardly ever are good gameplay. There's something wrong with every dragon fight normally.
Walking Dead. Hey, remember how big that was going to be?
Which one? Is this the VR one? Oh,
like, kind of like
I really wish. Oh, this one looks so cool.
That was set in the Walking Dead's universe. It wasn't even actually a bad game. It just wasn't incredible. But frankly, the problem was that it was a franchise that basically lent itself to this kind of game in a way that should have made it easy to make a good game, and it kind of just disappeared. It also had a number of technical problems.
No, this isn't the VR one.
That never helps. And to be frank, even though the gunplay is good, it was also pretty repetitive.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was Dying Light gameplay, and then they were gonna talk about how Dying Light should have influenced, but I mean, this doesn't look terrible comparing it to Dying Light.
It's a bit too much like Payday. Like, as in, it doesn't feel like a different game. It just feels like different graphics. And moving on to number 7. Hey, remember when Haze was going to be a Halo killer? Like, so many people called it that. Like,
what?
Oh, this Haze is going to be big. It's going to kill Halo.
PlayStation 3.
People aren't going to want to play Halo anymore after Haze comes out.
No.
But not only did it have a bad plot, it had a very short plot and a lot of glitches. And really, like, if it had worked properly, wasn't special
cool
in any way. It's pretty generic. Like, the guy had a cool suit that was broken over his eyeball.
Oh, that's so edgy.
That was it. The cover of the game was the most unique part of it.
Ooh,
I mean,
yikes.
You might criticize that it was short, but I would almost say it's a relief that it wasn't a long game. Although I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I'm only going by what other people said. I didn't finish this game. It was bad. Number 6. And now we're getting into the dark meat. Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs was originally presented as this amazing, impossible to understand how it looked so good.
This game looks so good.
It was downgraded so significantly by the time it came out. And on top of being downgraded, the main character was really whiny and annoying and never stopped talking about, frankly, stuff I don't care about. Just a typical doofy, brooding protagonist, except for he wore a duster and hacked with his smartphone. Yeah,
was this 2015?
Watch Dogs 2 was so much better than Watch Dogs 1. And a lot of it was just because they figured out how to present the idea of Watch Dogs better, and they actually delivered graphics that they promised. Number 5 is Mighty Number 9. And wow, I remember when they announced this game on Kickstarter, I was like, I'm so there. I am ready to play more Mega Man. Capcom has not handled Mega Man well, and you guys...
I don't think I've ever played a Mega Man game either.
Team members,
Holy
you
cow.
absolutely positively couldn't you?
Never heard of this game either, though.
Skip ahead several years and watch my Before You Buy on Mighty Number 9.
Yikes.
One word, ick. It's not good. It sucks. It's so uninspired. It could easily be a bad fan game made by teenagers. And that certainly doesn't account for the good fan games made by teenagers. Mighty Number 9 does so little of what it originally looked like it was going to do.
This does not look good.
And you could call it a downgrade, but I don't even know if they ever actually intended to make the game look like they originally showed us. And it's slow and clunky and bad, and the new Mega Man game is so much better than Mighty Number 9, it just destroys it. Number 4, Fallout 76. Now,
And be honest, before we get to Fallout 76, I didn't know they were still making Mega Man games. Holy cow. Mega Man 11? What?
here's a game that managed to get overhyped,
Oh.
despite the fact everyone knew it was going
The
to
game's
be
great
bad.
now,
The minute they
but
announced this game,
it took
everyone
so
was
long
like,
for it to get good.
Nope. And yet they kept trying to make it seem like it could be something.
There was no AI. There was no NPCs, rather, in this. There was no one to talk to. But he might talk about it.
So much money marketing this game because it was everywhere during the lead up to its release, and
It could have been
why?
so
Why
good.
was it everywhere? And that's not even accounting for all the various controversies that sprung up around this game and the merchandise they did for it.
I don't remember
Why
that
does
part.
it exist? Why does Fallout 76 exist? Just it should stop.
It was a let me go back so I'm not whitewashed. It was a multiplayer Fallout game. It should be so great, but they didn't release on it. The game was half baked. It's that simple. It was half baked. Look at it now. It's a whole lot better. There's NPCs to talk to. There's real people to go and talk to. The missions, you don't just go to a terminal and get your next quest and have someone talk to you from the past. The game now is 10 times better.
Why does it exist? Why does Fallout 76 exist? Just it should stop. Coming in at number 3, the Star Wars Battlefront games. The recent ones. Now, I love the original.
There's no way these Star Wars games were so... Hold on. Let me find it. This is one of the best games ever. Now, unfortunately, it had a big controversy. It was very pay to win when it came out. Now, I mean, no one plays it now, but it's still a good game. If you can find servers with mods on it, the game is so good. But at the end of the day, I don't think this was a flop. The first one, oh my gosh, was so much fun. The second one was even funner. You actually got to play as the clones. But
original Battlefront games, and to some extent, I even like the new ones. But it's despite so many things. The first of the 2 new ones was hyped as a return to one of the best franchises of all time.
It was so much fun to play, though.
Content bear
the DLC did kind of ruin it, I think, because not a lot of people bought the DLC.
Game that had good mechanics, but didn't really seem to be the same.
There wasn't enough
as
content
its predecessors.
in it.
Still,
Sure,
it was forgivable, and over time, they actually did make it into a pretty damn respectable game that I've wasted a lot of time on.
Yeah.
And the second one, oh, we know what we did wrong with the first one. We're going to have a campaign this time, and the multiplayer, we're going to feature some stuff that is more akin to the original. But we're also including loot boxes.
Yeah,
oh
and that's
God.
what killed
Has
the game.
Business world
but after they got rid of the loot boxes, the game is fine. Yes, you have super sweaty people on it, and when you go into that hero battles, oh my gosh, don't go into hero battles if you've never played, because they are so sweaty.
We're screwed with a game worse than Battlefront 2. Well, it's possible. No way did anybody ever screw it up so visibly, so publicly. And here's the thing that pisses me off the most.
Where's No Man's Sky at? Surely that's the last one. Unless it's... Nah, No Man's Sky was released.
The potential it had at the start, because so many people were scared off of it.
The game's great.
Number
it's
2
just
is
no one
Anthem.
plays it.
What do I even need to say?
Anthem. Okay, yeah, where is No Man's Sky at? Surely it's the last one.
I hate it. It's terrible. It's one of the worst games to have come out.
It was just terrible.
In the way that it was.
It should have been the next Destiny, and it
built
wasn't.
On all the experience that
simple.
BioWare had accrued over its time in making games.
It was just terrible.
Instead, it's just
Absolutely.
this stale shell of a nothing
Which this
piece
looks
of crap
kind of
that, frankly,
cool.
no
I don't know
one owes
why.
any of their time, much less money, to. I don't even like talking about this game. I hate it so much. And it's partly due to the fact that it squandered time and potential away from BioWare.
Like, it looks
and has
clunky,
set them on a path where if
too.
they don't deliver
Just
something
watching
dynamite,
this,
they're
like, the
probably
player
gonna go
movement
the
just
same
looks
way as
clunky.
any other EA studio they scooped up and screwed up and closed.
But look at this. When he's flying in, that looks so cool.
Had accrued over
Not this
its
part.
time in making games. Instead,
This part looks
it's just
so
this stale
cool.
Shell of a
This could have been
nothing
so
piece of
good.
crap that frankly no one owes any
But
of
after
their
that,
time, much less
the
money.
player movement
I
just
don't
looks
even
so
like talking
clunky.
about this
Here,
game. I hate it so much.
I don't know.
And it's partly
Maybe it's
due
because
to
he's
the
on
fact
controller.
that it squandered time and potential away from BioWare and has set them on a path where if they don't deliver something dynamite, they're probably going to go the same way as any other EA studio they scooped up
and they do.
screwed up
And why's my I don't know what happened to my camera. I just look over and it's frozen.
Oh, we're not done talking about BioWare. See, Anthem wouldn't be the danger that it is to one of my favorite
No Man's Sky not on here?
The years if it weren't for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Where is No Man's Sky at? The game was terrible when it came out. It's great now, just like Battlefront. Where is it?
The way for a company.
Let's watch to the end before I go more.
By being itself.
And this game is just absolutely terrible.
Between the facial animation, the remote...
And let's not talk about the game that they just released, Dragon Age Veilguard. Absolutely terrible game.
Remarkably low stakes story.
BioWare is almost done.
The fact that you're
the only thing BioWare has left is Mass Effect 5. That's all they have. If Mass Effect 5 does not succeed, BioWare is over. We have no more BioWare.
Kind of.
And it's sad because they make some of the best games.
I don't know, just
back in the day.
Encroaching on a bunch of people and taking stuff from them. It feels awkward, and it doesn't feel to be in the spirit of the Mass Effect series. It wasn't fun, and it kind of felt weird to do anything in it. Like you're exploiting some species that, if it were any other Mass Effect game, you'd be learning everything about and building some sort of camaraderie
alliance with them.
Those days are gone. Andromeda pretty much just ate it right off. And yeah, they made the faces better and the animation a little better, but who cares?
Who cares when it's bad?
And as a quick bonus, hey, so No
Man's
Sky, remember
Thank
all
you.
that? That was quite the explosion.
Holy cow.
No Man's Sky was looked at as like a life-changing game, and it turned out to be pretty standard. But we had to put it in bonus because it technically didn't flop, and also they've really made it into a respectable game in the ensuing year.
It flopped so hard. What are we talking about, Gameranx? This game flopped so hard. No, this game was not good. It wasn't average at release. It was terrible. There was nothing to do in the game. What? Now, yes, now it's good. Just like over here with Star Wars. Now it's good if you can find servers. But
actually pretty great now. What was one of the games you thought?
No. And then the next game would probably be Cyberpunk 2077 because it is absolutely terrible on release. Now it's fine. You can play it. You know, it's not all bug-ridden today as it was back when it released. So please go make sure you go watch this video for yourself and go leave it a like and go check out Gameranx. This was 5 years ago. There's a lot of games that have released that have been flops that aren't on here. Hopefully they make another one, an updated one, because there's been plenty. I'm sure you could fill 20 slots, at least 10. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
2 bags, 1 day, big balls, pop off, no pills, blue bills, cha-cha, real smooth. 2 cars, 2 wrists, new house, move quick, move slick, bitch bag, I took her, now you mad, nerd.